chase betterment, chase personal development, professional development, and you will ultimately win. There's no losing with that. It's not degrees, it is an unwavering, relentless pursuit. Those who refuse to give up. That's it. Welcome to Thrive Well with Jess Woodbeck. Hi, Amy. Thank you so much for joining me here on Thrive Well podcast.
So happy.
So happy to have you too. And I know the sun is finally shining over there as it is here. Thank goodness.
Is spring here?
Take it in.
Oh my gosh, is spring actually here?
Yes, I know, right? Just hold. Someone this morning is like, gosh, it's so muggy and a little warm. I said, we're not going to complain about that. That's not something we're going to do. But thank you. So Amy is a powerhouse female leader in Canada. We met years ago through the KW circuit. We've gone to lots of conferences together and became fast friends. I have been a major fan of yours for so long. In fact, Amy, I was thinking about before we got on here, one of the first places I think I saw you was when you were speaking at Curator about video. And you were so dynamic, you were so authentic. And I remember just fangirling out in that moment, just thinking, wow, look at this woman being exactly who she is, bringing so much energy and charisma to the table. And ever since then,
reversed. I'm saying for you.
I just love it. It's been an amazing journey. So please tell people who you are in business, where you're coming from, and then we'll get into all the goodness.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. Well, thank you for this opportunity. I am the founder of North Group. We're a real estate team based out of Toronto. We service the entire greater Toronto area. So on any given day, depending, that can span, an hour, hour and a half, depending on traffic. Yeah. We are a team of 14 agents, and then operational and marketing, sales staff, et cetera. It's almost our 5th year anniversary in June. So that's pretty exciting. But I actually got into sales full time on my own 7 to 8 years ago, and then started the team just shy of 5 years ago.
Incredible. And I know we've talked so much about, growth and recruiting and being team leaders that are either in production, not in production. So I'd really love if we could chat with people. I know a lot of people consider once they've hit a certain production level that now's the time to become a team leader because they feel like it's the only way to continue to grow in the industry. What are your thoughts on that? Because I know you and I have gone through lots of things in our leadership journey. So I'd love to hear, what would be your advice or your thoughts on agents thinking that that's the only way to go about it?
Yeah, I mean, my number one piece of advice would be that if you don't truly love management and love personal development and love leadership and growing yourself, just sell a crap ton of real estate. Hire all the staff, hire all the different roles that will help you grow and scale your business. But for me, when I even started North Group, by the book, it was probably premature because I as a rainmaker didn't at that time have overflowing amount of business. I just had this overflowing heart to want to lead and to grow and to work with people. I truly believe we're better together. I believe you go further, faster together. I'm obsessed with all things teams, whether that's sports or, whatever it is, like I love the team environment. And I just knew I didn't want to be a successful agent alone. I wanted to do it with great people. And so our model has been built off of a premise of creating a platform of systems and services and marketing and training that allow, great agents, whether they're brand new in the business or whether they have 10 years of experience, to plug into our platform so that they don't have to do it alone either. And so yeah, that's I think I kind of rambled, but back to your question. I truly believe that the industry preaches team building, like build a team. It's what's next. And this is the evolution of how you have to grow. And I firmly disagree with it. It's not what you have to do. You can you can thrive, because I love that word, and I love that that's what is
Use it.
your
Yes.
company is all about. You can thrive as an individual agent, still have and still present yourself to the consumer as a team, because you have an operations director and a transaction coordinator and a stager and a marketer and maybe buyer's assistants and things like that. But you do not have to, on a day in and day out basis, be leading and managing and growing yourself and others, which is
Yeah.
what being a team leader is all about.
I love it. I think you nailed it with we're in absolute alignment around you have to truly, in order to look at being a team leader in real estate or any industry, right? Any entrepreneurial spirit, to go from the one man band to scaling or to growth of other people.
I heard a great quote once from somebody who said that they get more passion and more fulfillment out of the assist than the goal. And I was like, that's the best description for being a team leader. If you are more excited about the people that you're in business with succeeding, their individual wins, their deals, their success, than you are, anything that you might be working on for yourself, then you're in the right role. You're in the right seat.
Stuff. That's the magic stuff. In fact, I just saw Simon Sinek posted something the other day that said, when you talk to a team leader or CEO and you ask them what they love about their job or what they do, more importantly, and if they say, well, I'm in charge of and I make decisions around, he's like, crappy leadership. He's like, it's the team leader and the CEO that says, I serve people. That's my job.
I agree with you. One of my biggest pet peeves actually in our industry, and I should probably be more vocal about this, but I just, as somebody who has built a team, and I am so far from perfect, I've failed forward every step of the way. And so I definitely don't claim to be a perfect leader or a perfect team leader, but what I am proud of is the fact that I view those that I have the privilege of being in business with as partners. I view it as an opportunity, and I never refer to anybody as those under me, those who work for me. I've literally heard these exact words in the last 2 weeks, or different conferences or things that I've been at. I've heard underlings. I've heard people or agents who are under me. I've heard people who work for me. I'm just like, get the word I, me, under, get them all out of your vocabulary. That's my advice.
Yes, yeah, and I think it's so telling. Those people, I believe, moved into leadership, so to speak, right? Even though they're not properly leading, out of necessity, out of absolute thinking that was the only right next step for them, and they weren't built for it. They don't have a passion for it. They're just doing it because they think it's the right next step and the only step. So I love your thought process on that. I'm right in alignment with it. So let's talk about the fact that you're a fierce female leader. You have spearheaded innovation in our industry around marketing and video. What has it been like when you look back over the last 5 years, much less the global pandemic timeframe, of overcoming things that forced you to make different decisions, put you in a position of saying, hey, I gotta revamp here. I must pivot because we are going to thrive through this. I'm not going to ask people to survive.
Yeah, no, it's such a great question. I feel like there's so much that I could say. It's like where to start. I remember when the pandemic first hit and I went to a John Maxwell leadership webinar that he rolled out like right away. He pivoted so fast. So we all got to be a part of it. And I tend to go, you go to these trainings, you go to webinars, even probably people listening to this. If you take away you tend to take one or two takeaways, and then the rest was noise. So I'm sure the sound of my voice may be a little bit of noise, but if there's anything that I learned from that pandemic and that I like to convey, it's that you never leave crisis the same. You never leave trauma or crisis or a difficult time the same. And for a lot of us, that was the pandemic. It could be other things that are going on in our lives. You have a choice. You either get better or you stay the same, which means you're going backwards. And so I think for all of us, it's a choice. Everything comes down to daily choices. I've been a firm believer of that since I was a teenager, and even some of the difficult times that I went through, in my childhood or as a teenager. And so, to your point about what we did or changed or grew through that difficulty or that time, I will honestly say that there was less innovation and less creativity and way more basics, way more foundation. And if I ever look at my business and the growth of North Group over the last 5 years, anytime that I see where we've not faltered or lost our way, because I wouldn't say that, because it's just a lot. I mean, entrepreneurship and life in general is just failing forward, right? But where we've seen, if we've gotten off course or distracted, it's because we got so caught up in what we always say, shiny objects or innovation. And as soon as we centered ourselves back to the foundation and back to the basics, you start to thrive. Yes. And so I think that that's just a really critical principle for all of us, no matter where we're at in our business, is that this business is built. We know, like, big results are built on the back of basics, of micro commitments, of staying consistent to the things that are actually the foundation of what causes growth and causes us to thrive.
Yeah, that tiny hinges swing big doors mentality. Yes. Yeah, I couldn't, same wavelength. And I think that's such great advice for any challenge people come up against, is really just revisiting the basics to get you through it. Don't overthink it. Don't look at what the next guy is doing. Just go right back to basics, get through it. And then on the other side of it, you could get back to innovation. You can get back to creativity. Yeah, that's so good.
I think such a big chunk of our business, I actually used this analogy when I was speaking to a team yesterday, is that I think the majority of our business is mindset. The rest is everything else. The rest is skill, the rest is confidence, the rest, if you can master mindset in crisis or out, I firmly believe that is the fundamental key to success and the key to thriving through difficult times, business setbacks, global pandemics, whatever it might be. It's all up here. It's all up here. And you work out regularly. I work out regularly. The most important thing that we can recognize is that our mind is a muscle. And just like we have muscle memory in our biceps or, in our abs, it's that, the more we exercise them. And then if you take a step back, then when you come back again, that muscle memory is there, right? I feel so strongly that the mind is a muscle, and the more we exercise it, the more we exercise pivoting out of negativity or pivoting out of discouragement or comparison or any of the things that shift our mindset from where it needs to be, the more that muscle memory gets strengthened. And so then it's because we're human. We're always going to have things that come, like we're always going to have things that roadblock us. We're always going to have things that bring negativity. It's just life.
It's life. Exactly.
As a human being, you can't just be positive every minute of every day, or not have negative thoughts, or have thoughts of fear, or thoughts of overwhelm, or thoughts of frustration. Like that's humanity. But the faster we can pivot away from those, and implement that muscle memory. Yes. Oh, it's such a powerful tool.
And it forever changes you, like you said. I talk about this and I like how you're talking muscle memory, because that gives me some ideas. We talk about it in capacity, right? Once your capacity has gotten to a point where you've stretched it, right? And it's like a rubber band. As soon as you're out there, it's not going to ever come back. You might take a step back and take a breather or slow down, but you will forever be able to go to that capacity place. And I do think the infusion of hustle around capacity, even if we're talking mindset only, if we're saying, hey, the infusion of positivity is okay. It's the fake positivity that gets you in trouble. Being an optimist is wonderful, and you can really work your way through the worst of situations with the best of attitudes. But fake positivity, that's where we run into issues, right? That's where we get distracted by comparison. We get distracted by the shiny bullets because we're in la la land and it's not really ingrained in us, in that gut. So I like that a lot, the muscle memory.
I agree. And I think it's important to recognize, like, as entrepreneurs, as leaders in the real estate industry, which I believe we all are, is that, momentum propels. And whether it's positive or negative, you're moving with force. You're moving. I don't know how to explain it any differently, but like, if you get yourself into a position of negative mindset, you're going to have momentum, but it's going to move you backwards. It's going to move you in the wrong direction. And so the faster you can pivot out of those thoughts, the faster you can transition those thoughts, like you said, the stronger you become. The stronger you become as an entrepreneur.
So good.
And one thing I've watched you do over the years that is inspiring, Amy, is that you really do practice that. You practice the piece of, because, I mean, my God, you have been named Innovator of the Year. And to be able to say, hey, now's not the time for that. Now is the time to make sure my people are safe, I'm safe, my family's protected, my business is protected, and that means I'm going to get back to basics.
We did that. We had to do that during COVID. Actually, we had 3 brand new agents signed up to go through all of our training and everything that we had established right when COVID hit. And I parted ways with all 3 of those people within a couple of days of them signing on because the pandemic hit. And I knew very quickly I have to take care of my own, which is the people that I'm already in business with, myself included in that. And I knew that with what was about to transpire, that I wasn't going to have any more to give. Very quickly, we all had to make hard decisions, whether it was layoffs or changes in our business or changes to our model. We had to pivot. And so that was a really hard choice for me because it felt like failure. And I felt like I was letting them down as well. And then, of course, there's the perception of like new agent joining, growth, like whatever, because of this whole hoopla of like, I love the line that someone who I really respect in the industry uses as a like entrepreneurship. Like it's true. It's like where we all are so like caught up in like, oh, that person's growing. Oh, that agent, or that person just did a deal. Like, oh, that agent just joined the team, So I'm like 3 people that we had taken through the interview process that were just ready to start. And we parted ways with all 3 of them because at that particular time, I knew that I needed to dial in on supporting who we had and making sure that them and their families, I don't think that was proper grammar. They and their families, I don't even know, were the most important thing at that time.
Yeah, and I love the integrity piece in that. And I hope anybody that's listening hears exactly what you just said, because as a team leader, when you go through the motion of taking the time to find the right people and interview them, and you found them and they're able to join the company, that of course represents revenue. And so the fact that you said, hey, that doesn't matter. Money's not going to falter what I know is needed right now, and I can't serve them at the highest level. What I need to do is protect what I have. Huge. I respect that so much. So cool.
You question whether or not you're making the right decisions at the time, but ultimately you do have to lead and go with your heart. You do.
Yeah, you have to trust your gut, and you have to trust what your original mission is out to set for. And I revisit that. I don't know if you do. I revisit our mission here at Thrive constantly to make sure, is this next decision I'm about to make in alignment with what serves our mission? Or am I distracted? Or am I excited, right? Because we're all human. We get excited about new softwares, new programs, new things. So I get it. Okay, I would love to talk about, if you're open to it, I'd love to talk about how a female leader in our industry can seemingly have it all. You have a beautiful family, a beautiful business, you work out and take care of yourself, you're launching Mastermind. I mean, you're doing the things, you're doing it, and it's inspiring. And so how do you manage time for family, time for yourself, time for your business? What are your best words of advice around that and tactical information?
I think it's the thing that you and I have talked about a lot, and I know you share about a lot, is boundaries. And I think, it's one of the things that is the hardest lesson to learn. It is truly one, because we are in a service-based industry. As team to our clients, as team leaders, we're in service to, the agents and the partners that we align with. There's also this false perception where we wear this badge of honor of busyness, and that is something that I have absolutely fallen guilty to over the years. I'm also and this is something that just comes with time and with experience and with a lot of self-reflection, is that you become the product of the environments in which you are raised or trained or employed. And it's taken me a long time to move away from the mentality of the corporate work environment in which I was in for a decade before I became an entrepreneur, where it was almost discounted if you weren't the first person in the office and the last person to leave.
Yeah, no, and you're so right, because our storylines are very similar. 10 years in corporate, and realizing, okay, that way of thinking doesn't work here, and it's not what's best here for me, for everyone else. So back to, how do we carve out the boundary for love, for self, for work, and how do you keep them separate, or do you?
Well, and I think a lot of it comes down to, an analogy that we've heard a lot is like, it's less about balance and finding more of that flow, that rhythm. And that's something that I've had to like kind of give myself like the grace, and I'm far from where I want to be or need to be, but it's something that I've had to give myself the grace to learn in becoming an entrepreneur, is that it's okay to do a workout in the middle of the day if that's what's going to be best for your schedule, or it's okay to take that time with your family from 3 to 6 or 7 p.m. if that's what's important, and then jump into things a little bit later if needed. And so I think that ultimately that's what it has come down to for me, is that, and I don't have it figured out. I certainly don't. I think it's a constant journey. But taking that pressure off too, is that the journey is the destination. And so we as women, or entrepreneurs in general, we can tend to beat ourselves up. But I find that when we're putting ourselves in those situations, that it's because we're probably caught up in comparison. We're probably thinking that we should be somebody that we're either seeing on social or that is in a different spot in their life. And I once heard the best line is like, we can't compare ourselves, our behind the scenes, to somebody else's highlight reel. And that's what social media does, right? And so I think it's truly something that is going to be a forever journey for all of us, and that's just part of life.
Yeah, I think the awareness of it is the number one piece, right? Aware that they all have different needs, and you have to find the time, otherwise you won't take the time. So I was just on a podcast the other day, and they were asking about that exact same question, and I said, you know what, it's not sexy. It's not, you can't romanticize it in the least. It is calendared. And that is the God's honest truth, is I can tell you on my calendar when I'm dating my husband. I can tell you on my calendar when I'm waking up and when I'm working out, because if I don't do that, I will miss it. Because when you're passionate like you, right, you're a passionate leader, you're passionate about North Group, you're passionate about bringing new ideas to the industry, that can be everything. That can take all of the time if we allow it.
I agree. And I am a person who really operates by a calendar. I know not everybody does, and I know that that's not a definition of success by any stretch of the means, but I'm exactly the same way. Like, my workouts are in the calendar, when I get up, what my morning routine looks like, when I'm taking time, on the personal side. And so for me, that is my way of being intentional. And so just like I'm intentional in time blocking, the non-negotiables in our business, which we know are lead generation, appointments, things like that, I'm just equally as intentional and in time blocking the non-negotiables for myself personally as well. Is it perfect? Definitely not. It's always a work in progress. So
Yes. And I think that's the best part of personal development, which you had mentioned is such a catalyst to leadership, is just always saying, hey, I know I've got room for improvement. And how can I better, right? And just looking at it and constantly, rearranging things. So when it comes to leading and being in production, and I know many successful team leaders and businesses across the country where either the team leader is completely out of production or the team leader is in production. So how do you manage that? How do you manage your own unbelievable sales that you're personally doing and manage your incredibly growing team? We talk about that a lot when it comes to, because you're right. I think what we hear constantly of people coming to this industry is, oh, I came here for my effort to meet my income and flexibility. And you're like, well, that's a that's a contradiction in itself right away. And let's be honest, your first year is double to triple the effort that you will ever have to put in for the rest of your career when you do it right. And it takes people who are relentless around that, and that's, unfortunately, I don't know the numbers in Canada, but I know here in the United States we're at 82% by year 2 attrition rate. Yeah, it's unbelievable. And I think it speaks to exactly that, the idea that people think it's just so flexible and it's easy and it falls in your lap. It doesn't take the work. So, okay, a brand new agent is hitting the scene right now. We're kind of untangling from the global pandemic. We're in a fierce seller's market. What is your best advice for them to do year one?
well, and people say this to me, oh, Amy, your perspective is skewed because you own and operate a team. But I firmly believe that the consumer is getting more and more savvy today, that they know that they can hire a team for the same rate that they can hire a solo agent who's going to be a jack of all trades. And they can hire a team that has an entire operation behind them. All the operational team, all the marketing team, all the stats, the sales, and everything behind them. So I'm pro team. I'm set yourself up for massive success. Like hitch your wagon to a star of exactly who or where you want to be down the road, and then just soak every opportunity up and don't be afraid to do the work.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably more, and it sounds easier said than done for sure. And it's unfortunate because I know there's a lot of great teams, but there's also a lot of not great teams. And so on both sides, like we as team leaders, we have a rigorous, and I know you do too, a rigorous interview process because culture is so important to how we thrive and how we grow. But I would encourage agents to do the same, like really make sure that you interview and know where you're going to work and who you're aligning with and what their big picture vision is for both the company and then for you as an individual, and somewhere where you're truly valued, where you're not going to be, to my points earlier, an underling or working under someone or working for someone. It's partnership. It's partnerships.
Yeah, I love, and I hope everyone heard that. What is the company going to do for you individually, and what is the vision for the company overall? I think that's so important, and it's something that is it's almost unfair to somebody brand new coming into the industry. They don't know to even look for that or even to ask for that. Why would you? You come in thinking, I just
You don't know what you don't know. We don't know what we don't know. In fact, it's been such an epiphany for me because we have a new team partner starting with us on Monday. She got into the business a year and a half ago, or actually a little bit longer. It was like we were still in the middle of, like, at the beginning of the pandemic. So it's probably like late spring, early summer of 2020. And she went through our whole interview process. She was just incredible. I knew that she was the right fit for North Group. But at the time, she didn't feel that North Group was the right fit for her, and she went to go do it on her own. Great. We've stayed in touch. I had opportunities to add input into her business, and we just kept in communication. And she circled back with me a few weeks ago. She said, if you're still willing to have me, I'd like to revisit our conversations. And I said to her, what stopped you from moving forward when we were ready to do so then? And she's like, I just had no idea what I was missing. I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know, even though I heard all the things that North Group had to offer, and we talked about where my business would go and grow, and what I could bring to the table, what North Group would bring to the, she's like, everything was amazing. It's not like nothing was said that I didn't resonate with or didn't want to be a part of, but I just had no idea at that moment,
right,
what I even wanted or needed or what I was missing in order to even make an effective decision. And it just really, that conversation helped me think through when I'm having my conversations and interviews with newer agents moving forward, to really help them understand what they should be looking for. Yeah. And lay out what it is that if you are interviewing or you're wondering where you should go next, this is what you should be offered. So I thought that it was just really enlightening for me.
Yeah. No, and I think it's great to hear. I think there's a gap there because there's a risk also in helping them so greatly understand that your house, your firm is the best place for them to go because you're going to nurture them, you're going to train them, you're going to help grow their career right off the bat. And then what I found, because we're full service like you are, is once they join and they of course are excited about that experience, they're excited about the growth of their career. Once it gets moving forward and it is so good, they don't think they need all of that anymore. They don't think that it's necessary because they don't know what they don't know. They haven't experienced the contrast. So the appreciation or the gratitude for what they're actually experiencing is minimized. And I firmly believe it's not malicious. It's not, greedy. It truly is that they just don't have contrast. And so it's like in a relationship, when you don't have contrast or, debates or even, small arguments with your spouse, there's no contrast to how beautiful it is when it's 90% amazing. So how do we create the the full-on knowledge transfer of here's how we can serve you, here's how you'll succeed at exponential rates if you join the North Group or Thrive, and also when you do so well, here's how to handle that. Because that's that risk piece.
And I think it's so critical to not just in those settings ensure that people understand what value they're going to get and what their partner what them partnering with North Group or with Thrive will actually receive, but also what they're committed to as well. And so that's something that we've really elevated in our interview process and in our conversations and in our contract is that what are the mutual commitments, what are the expectations of both North Group and for myself as a team partner. And so just really making sure that that is so clear right out of the gate. I remember once when I first started coaching, when I got into the business, my coach said to me, he said, Amy, no relationship ever falls apart from too much communication. And so I think and that's client relationship, marriage, sister and sister, business relationship, like over communicate. If you ever with our clients, and one of the things that we always say at North Group is here's what's going to happen next. I use that with my clients all the time. I use it in our leadership all the time. I use it with our team all the time. Encourage them to use it with their clients, is that it's always over communicating and setting expectation of what's going to happen next.
Yes, so important. I think when you talk about over communicating, we tend to follow that same peace of mind when it comes to agents understanding that even when you're in a co-op situation, especially if it's outside of the firm, that it doesn't reduce your amount of communication. You're not handing off and expecting the co-op to communicate at the same level you are, right? Just keep your hands on that steering wheel and own the entire transaction, and the co-op will either follow suit and rise up, or it doesn't matter. Either way, you're doing your job and you're continuing forward. Okay, last question, because I want to respect your time here, and I'm so grateful that you've joined us. When you think about thriving well, because I know you and I are on the exact same page when we say, yeah, that looks great, but let me get behind the curtains and see how really good it is. That's why we created Thrive Well. It's really easy to thrive in real estate, to be a flash in the pan. To thrive well, though, to actually encompass a whole life of success, what does that mean to you?
I truly believe that everything starts here. Everything is about how you think. And if you can keep your thoughts in alignment in this business, especially, real estate can take its toll on your mind. But sales can, entrepreneurship can, but we're talking with realtors right now. We're talking with team leaders and brokers and agents that are listening to this. If you can truly thrive in your mind, you can thrive in all other areas of your life, because the hits are going to come. The economy is going to change. Life is going to be difficult. Deals are going to fall apart. Relationships are not going to succeed. It is life. People are going to die. We are going to lose loved ones. We have to thrive here first. That's where it starts ultimately. And if you can, and I've only scratched the surface of what I'm working towards with keep strengthening my mind. But a lot of my reading, a lot of my research, a lot of my podcasts and things that I'm listening to are always about strengthening this tool, because I truly believe that then the rhythm that we're seeking in life, or balance, whatever word people want to use, because I think it's going to be a long time before we steer away from the perception of what work-life balance is. But finding that flow, finding that rhythm, giving yourself the grace to have the days that feel like setbacks, giving yourself, it's okay to go through whatever it is that you're going through, but to keep this strong, to keep our mind strong, is what it truly means to thrive, to me.
Yes.
Because that allows us to move into all of those other areas, whether that's an issue with a habit or a routine or something we need to grow or learn in, something that we need to implement that would be perceived on the outside looking in as thriving, it starts with how we think about that very thing or that topic.
So powerful. I really, you painted a great picture in what we do go through in life and what we probably don't talk enough about, which is the messy stuff, the stuff that isn't fun. And I love that about your approach to life and our industry because I think, like I said, the reason we even have Thrive Well in general is because it's easy to make a lot of money here. And we all know that money does not solve problems in our mind, in our body. Does it help? Does it contribute to greatness? Of course. But you've got to do a lot of work in here in order to stay strong and continue to progress. So thank you. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so you said you listen to a lot of podcasts, you read a lot of books, you surround yourself with mentors and coaches that help keep you mentally strong and that kind of mental toughness going. What would be a podcast you could recommend to folks right now?
Oh, I love Adam Contos's new podcast, Start with a Win. It's a really good one.
Awesome.
I'm just opening up my podcast. Do you know from a business perspective, I love his is great. And then from a business perspective, I absolutely love Business School by Sharon Shrivata. I always say his name wrong.
Okay.
I haven't heard that one. I'm writing that down right now.
I love him. I'm obsessed with him. Um, yeah, and I'm currently reading a book that's been out for a few years. It's not new, but I'm really just on the focus of attraction right now. So I'm reading Super Attractor. It's a great book.
Yes, really good one. I have you read Obstacle is the Way?
Yes.
Ryan Holiday. Oh, it's just a great book. And I honestly,
I
I think I
actually
would.
just referenced it yesterday to one of our
Did you?
partners. Yeah, I was
Oh,
like,
it's so good.
this is what you need to read.
Yeah, I think it's so relevant with everything we talked about here today and the mental toughness and overcoming challenge that will inevitably come. You cannot avoid it. Life is messy, gloriously. Okay, well, thank you so much, friend. I so appreciate your time, your wisdom, your advice, and I know those that listen and watch are going to feel the same way. So, how can people reach out to you?
Cell phone 416-624-8854, Instagram at Amy Youngren _ northgroup.com.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you again for being here, and I look forward to doing this again.